Good morning and welcome to Sports Shorts Daily. I'm Tommy Chrisant. Glad to be here. Glad to have you there. I am live and in color from Court Street Cafe in Port Allen. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, 6 days a week. Really got it going on here at Court Street Cafe in Port Allen. As you can see, Hunter McCann pinch hitting for Ronnie Ranson. Hunter's appearance brought to you by Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame up in Natchitoches. They get their big induction thing the end of June. Go to lasportshall.com, get tickets, find out about all the events that are going on at Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame. And as always, Sports Shores Daily is presented by LeBaris Casino and Hotel in Baton Rouge, the ESPN Bet Sportsbook, the Edge Lounge, 18 Steak, and all that good stuff. So, as I mentioned, Hunter McCann, pinch hitting for Ronnie Rance. Good morning, Hunter. How are you?
Morning, TK, and not too bad of a weekend since we last talked. Tigers get 2 or 3 at home against Arkansas, and now sitting at the top two polls, D1 Baseball and Baseball America. So looking pretty good for the Tigers heading into the last week of the regular season.
Well, I'm glad you talking about baseball. Because baseball this weekend, we saw what sums up baseball and the greatness that it is, okay, and the craziness that can occur in the game, okay. The week before, Texas gets swept, stays number one in the country. Gets swept, stays number one. LSU takes 2 out of 3 from Arkansas, couldn't get game 3 and complete the sweep, and they move up to number one. And then, of all things on earth, Missouri, who had not won an SEC game, goes into College Station, not only picks up their first win, but sweeps all 3 games against the Aggies, who were the number one team preseason, started off poorly, and then really got hot the last month or so. And Missouri, who hadn't won a game, goes in there and it's not just wins, but sweeps the series. I think that kind of sums up the whole baseball thing. And for those Tiger fans and other fans of whatever school, back in March when your team loses 2 out of 3, or they, and we're guilty too, they let one get away after you leading after the 8th inning. I mean, baseball is baseball. LSU's number one in 2 polls, the D1 poll and Baseball America poll, right now as we speak, right now this morning. However, it'll be more important where are they at the end of June. But that's just the one of the millions of reasons we love the great game of baseball.
No, I mean, it was incredible. And like you said, I mean, Missouri didn't just go in there and eke one out. I mean, they kind of stole the game on Friday night and then beat the snot out of them Saturday and Sunday. And it was so nice that, like, from a gambling perspective, it's always so funny how those things work. Looking at the lines on Saturday and Sunday, A&M favored both days by 4.5 runs. I took Missouri both days plus 4.5. I should have taken them on the money line because you just felt like the life had been sucked out of A&M because they're now they have 10 wins in SEC play with 3 games left, and you just felt like this weekend they really needed to sweep Missouri or at least grab 2 or 3 moving into the last weekend against Georgia, in my opinion, to have a chance at making the postseason. Now I think even if they sweep Georgia, I think it's going to come down to the SEC tournament. I think they're going to have to win the SEC tournament or at least make it really deep, maybe a championship appearance in the SEC tournament to make the postseason. But, I mean, right now it's set up that 12, maybe 13 SEC teams could make the postseason and make a regional at least.
Well, in Kentucky, you kind of thought was out until this weekend. They may have put themselves back into the picture, back into the discussion. So, it's going to be curious how that plays out. But you got one more weekend of baseball, and it's all Thursday, Friday, Saturday because the SEC tournament in Hoover starts the next week. LSU at South Carolina, where Paul Maneri's team has struggled mightily, 5-22 in SEC play. By the way, footnote, Jay Johnson, who was ejected from Game 3, will not have to serve suspension. There's a rule that you're supposed to sit out, but it depends on how volatile the suspension is. And I checked with Bill Franquez, the LSU communications office this morning, and there will be no suspension. But Jay Johnson's good to go Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 6 o'clock, 2 o'clock. In fact, the first game's on the main platform of the SEC network.
Yep.
LSU, they're at 17-10. If they can get the sweep, they hit that magic number of 20. But I will say this, and we talked about it last week. With the 2 out of 3 against Arkansas, they have solidified a national seed spot, in my opinion. Now, if they get 10-run ruled 3 times by South Carolina, I still think they'd be in the top 8. They may not be number 1. Okay, so and some people don't think they're in. I think they're absolutely in, and they're not going to. I mean, you never say never, but I don't think they can get swept by South Carolina. So I think LSU cemented a national seed spot, which means you're at home in the regionals and super regionals in an attempt to get back to Omaha.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that one win against the Gamecocks this weekend will solidify 100% that they're in. But I think even if they were swept, like you said, in a manner that isn't like absolutely dominated by South Carolina, I still think they get a top 8 national seed, especially after seeing this morning that they're ranked in 2 of the polls at number 1. It'd be a pretty hard argument to look at that and be like, well, we're going to drop them all the way out of a top 8 national seed. Because, usually the last week moving into the season, we're starting to see a little bit more of a picture of who might actually get to host both a regional and super regional given the opportunity. And I think the Tigers have solidified that. I mean, it was an impressive weekend against Arkansas. Sunday's game yesterday, long game, TK. I mean, it went 4 hours. It was a long game at Alec Box with a ton of different pitching. And Tara, I mean, it was bad timely hitting. In my opinion, it was probably one of the worst games from the Tigers against a really good opponent. But I think timely hitting was off. The pitching was a little bit suspect. After Jay Johnson got tossed, I mean, the rest of the coaching staff tried to puzzle pieces together, but the Tigers just didn't. Once they gave up that 4-piece, and I believe it was the second inning, or third inning, they just could not seem to rally after that. They swung at way too many balls in the dirt, and just never really. I mean, I don't have the exact strikeout numbers in front of me, but it felt like every other batter was striking out for the Tigers. It just wasn't a great day for them at the plate. But still, like you said, 2 out of 3 on the weekend against who was the number 1 team in the country in multiple polls, at least top 5 in all polls in Arkansas. It's a really impressive win at the box.
Well, a couple of last things about the LSU. Jay Johnson will not have the suspension, as we said. And, everybody could read his lips when he came out of the dugout. He said, "You didn't give me a warning." You don't have to give a warning. Nowhere in the rule book does it say I have to warn you before I throw you out, okay? And now, with that being said, the home plate umpire was awful. That was bad of home plate umpiring for both teams. I mean, even Arkansas, you could see some of them players like looking like, you really just called that, I mean, there have been a lot of problems with SEC umpires, and it's a hard job. Okay, these guys are throwing 96, 97 miles an hour. The ball's moving like crazy. It's hard to call balls and strikes, okay? Nobody watching this show could do it, probably. But I'm just saying they have to be better than what they've been all season long. And Sunday, I'll say this. He missed at least 25 pitches, okay? Now, I know all told there are over 300 pitches in the game, probably, if you add both pitching staffs. But you can't miss 25 of them. And the other thing that bothers me is the misses are glaring. It's one thing, when you just missed that one that barely caught the corner, or it was just a little bit outside and maybe you called it a strike. But these balls are missing by 5 and 6 inches, and yet they're being called ball strike, strike ball, and against both teams. And the only thing that coach and hitters want to ask an umpire is just be consistent. He called the low pitch all day long. That pitch on the knee, below the knee, he's calling it. So as a hitter, you got to be, okay, he's going to call that pitch. And then as when I think it was Hernandez that was batting, and the ball was up and in, and he looked at the ump and said, "That's not been a strike all day today." That sums it up, okay? And he's catching, so he knows what the guy's been calling. Part of baseball is adjusting to the way the ump calls. But I just hope the SEC, and again, you had LSU, Arkansas, send your best crew there. Yeah. I know these things are, the schedule's made out in February, okay? What ump's going to what park? I'm personal friends with several umpires. They know where they're going all 10 weekends. I think they should know like a month at a time. And then all of a sudden you got the LSU Arkansas series that's one of the top series in the country that year, not just the conference. Get your best crew in there because that plate umpire was bad.
Yeah, and not only that, but I mean, he got his feelings hurt. I mean, that's the reason why he tossed Jay. Jay wasn't aggressive. Jay didn't come out cursing and screaming. Like, he stepped out of the dugout, and the first thing he said to him was, "You flinched." Because if you go back and watch, I mean, this was a strike 3 call every day of the week. TK, I really do. Like, I mean, it was pretty close. But I mean, he kind of went forward, kind of went for the punch out, and instead kind of paused and let it be a ball 4. And I mean, man, I agreed with Jay that it looked like the home plate umpire flinched. That he said that to his face, and then that was it. He had enough, and that's what Jay came out and said. "Yeah, give me a warning," which to your point, isn't true. But we do see most of the time, especially for coaches that aren't known for being thrown out like Johnson, usually they're a little bit more lenient if you don't have a track record. But that home plate umpire was not having it yesterday afternoon.
Yeah, I mean, and I hate when an umpire throws a guy out after he made a mistake. Okay, you know what I know has happened before? I think it's better for the umpire to just tell a catcher, "Hey, tell your coach when you get back in the dugout, I missed that one." Okay, tell your coach I missed that one when you get back in the dugout. I know that has occurred at all levels, so I don't know. But anyway, let's move on for that. Hunter, you and I and Ronnie, we're getting ready to do radio out at LeBear's Casino, ESPN Sportsbook on Saturday. And shortly before we hit the air, I mean, a matter of 8-10 minutes, it was announced that Derek Carr retired from the New Orleans Saints. And now that the dust has settled a little bit, I think it's good for everybody and everything involved. And when I say everything, I mean the salary cap of the New Orleans Saints. That's not everybody, that's everything. Your thoughts now that you've had some time to digest Derek Carr retiring for the New Orleans Saints?
It was the best case scenario. I mean, for both sides, if Derek Carr had a possible lingering injury, didn't want to have surgery, had already restructured his contract, and the Saints were bringing in younger talent, like this was the way to go. It saved the Saints $30 million this year in cap space. They now got $57 million to work with now in the offseason after they were in cap space hell. They have arisen from hell with a lot of money to work with to try to put together a team for this year and in the future. But specifically on Derek Carr, I will say, I mean, we took a look at his stats on Saturday and everything, kind of talked about it, over 40,000 passing yards in his career, and a 4-time Pro Bowler. And looking at his career and kind of taking a step back, not a pretty impressive career for that regard. The numbers were pretty good. The completion percentage not too bad. It's more the fact that I think, in my opinion, Carr was, and on most cases with the Raiders and the Saints, never really the problem. He just wasn't the solution, if that makes sense. Like, I don't think the biggest glaring issue in any team that went in his 11 years of playing professional football he was never the biggest issue on any of his teams. He played on a lot of bad Raiders teams, which, he never had a playoff win. That 2016 Raiders team is probably the best team he had. Didn't get a playoff win that year. Couldn't take the Saints to the promised land, or at least take him to the playoffs either. But, I think New Orleans gives him a lot of flack. I think we've given him a lot of flack over the years. But at the end of the day, there was a lot more issues, and there still are a lot of issues to handle for the New Orleans Saints that are not Derek Carr. I just don't think that he ever really embraced New Orleans, and that rubbed a lot of people wrong. Like, especially in a place that loves football and is so culture into football, like everything that you do, and especially in the fall, is eat, sleep, breathe football. Like, you got to have a guy that you could back and believe in, and he just never seemed to be that guy that really loved New Orleans or was outspoken about his time in New Orleans. Like, Tyler Shuck's done a great job so far being a part of the community and kind of being in the spotlight of being like that. He had an interview this past weekend talking about like he'd already hit a pothole and blown out one of his tires. He felt like a real New Orleans after that. And those are the small little things that make people go, man, I like this kid. Hope he does well. Carr just never really gave that to New Orleans. So a above average career for a guy that was probably just an average quarterback. And, I'm happy he didn't have to have that surgery and he can step away from the game now. And it leaves New Orleans Saints in a position to maybe actually truly rebuild now, Tommy.
Yeah, and he went to 4 Pro Bowls, but the Pro Bowl thing ain't what it used to be, because you got guys that don't go because they're injured, or lately they don't go because their team's in the playoffs and the Pro Bowl's the week before, and then it's not a game anymore; it's a flag football game. So Derek Carr in the Hall of Fame are very average. Okay, I mean, and it's, as you said, you summed it up perfectly. I agree with everything you said. It's good for everything and everybody involved in that. Speaking of New Orleans, the NBA draft lottery is tonight, 6 o'clock in Chicago. The Pelicans had the 4th best chance to get the overall number 1 pick. Not that any of the overall number 1 picks that they've taken, Anthony Davis, Zion Williamson, panned out for New Orleans. But and I don't know how many people really care about the Pelicans. A little life with Joe Dumars being named general manager, but we'll find out tonight when they'll pick in the upcoming draft. I think I read they can pick no worse than 8. Is that correct? Go ahead. Your
Worse.
thoughts on that? Does it really matter? Pelican fans and people care?
If New Orleans gets the number 1 overall pick, people will care. Now, I think if they
Okay.
get anything less than that, there'll be a multitude of people that care, especially like diehard Pelicans fans. Like that, there's still a lot of talent that they really can help New Orleans, especially when you have that poor performance. You're picking in the top 8. Like you're going to get a guy that should be able to probably step in here and at least make an impact. If you get the number 1 overall pick and you get Cooper Flagg, like another number 1 overall pick and picking a Duke prospect to come to New Orleans, right? I mean, like that'll get a lot of people excited. It's a similar situation where it wasn't a lot of people's radar for New Orleans to draft Zion Williamson at the time. I don't remember what percentage chance they had to get the number 1 overall pick that year, but I don't believe it. I think it was worse than 4th, and they got the number 1 overall pick. So it could definitely happen tonight. And for New Orleans, I really hope it does, because at least it'll bring a little bit more excitement to the organization moving into next year, because the team needs it. They're in the lowest point that they have been probably in the last decade, and that's saying a lot for a team that has not really gone on a deep playoff run ever in its history.
Yeah, and we'll have to see how that. We'll talk about that Wednesday on Sports Show's Daily Ronnie Rants. Will be back. The PGA Championship, the second of the 4 golf and majors, is this week up in Charlotte, North Carolina at Quail Hollow. They've hosted that before. Scotty Scheffler, Rory McIlroy. I guess that's the story of the PGA. Not that one of those 2 guys is going to win. I'll figure that out and make a little wager on Wednesday. By the way, thanks for the Las Vegas Golden Night tip on
You're welcome.
WBRZ Best Bets the other day. I picked up some coins on that Saturday night. But the
weekend.
PGA, they changed the golf, wrote the order of the majors a couple of years back. Now this is the second of the 4th, and you have the U.S. Open and the British Open. But the PGA, a lot of storylines.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to me that that Rory had been favored to obviously win here for the PGA Championship and complete the second leg of the Grand Slam for this year, the true Grand Slam, right? I mean, have the opportunity to possibly do something that's never been done before. But now, after Scotty's win a couple weeks ago on the tour, I mean, he's now plus 400 to win this weekend, and then Rory's plus 450 is the current lines that I'm seeing. And honestly, like, did you expect anything different? It was always going to be one of those 2 guys favored in that regard, at least. But it's so difficult to win a major, and especially win 2 majors in a year. I mean, like, it's so difficult to just win on the tour in general that, I mean, it's going to be very hard for either one of those guys to win. But they're the best 2 players in the world right now. So I'm excited to see. I don't really, like you said, I'm going to take a look at everything and take a look at the course conditions and the weather this weekend and yada, yada, yada. And I'll have a little bit of a wager to put together for this weekend, something with a little bit extra value on it. But it could be Rory or Scotty that take it again this weekend. Rory's been playing his best golf probably in the last decade. We talked about that moving into the Masters, and he hasn't really slowed down. And Scotty, in the same regard, has kind of picked it back up after starting a little bit slow this year. So it should be a very interesting tournament once again.
Hey, my early call, McIlroy will be in the hunt come Sunday afternoon. Yep. I don't know if he'll win it, but I think he'll be in the hunt. Hey, Major League Baseball, second manager fired. Bud Black fired by the Colorado Rockies. Inside tip for you. My son dated his daughter briefly. So,
excuse me,
but really? I never met Bud, so it didn't get to that point where the dads awesome. Had to meet. Okay, but anyway, fired by the Rockies, who have one of the worst starts in the history of Major League Baseball. Got beat 21-0 the other night. That's mind-boggling. But Major League Baseball rolling on. I've been paying a lot of attention to that. We talk about the umpiring in the SEC.
Yeah,
there's some bad umpiring in the major leagues as well, especially with the ball strike calls. And I want to say it again, Hunter. I mean, I umpired high school baseball for about 8 years, and I worked the plate, some of that. Yeah. But working the plate for college baseball and the majors, obviously, is extremely difficult. I mean, there's not many people who want to even try it. But, especially now with these guys, everybody throwing 95 plus, tremendous movement on the ball, sliders, slankers, sweepers, splinkers, knuckleballs. They're throwing everything in the kitchen sink up there, and it's difficult to do. It's just hard to find the consistency. And like I said, I watch a lot of Major League Baseball. I'm the guy that watches 3-4 innings here, 3-4 innings there. And rarely do I sit and watch inning 1 through 9. But if I have a few minutes, boom, I put on the MLB channel and and pick out a team I want to watch. But it's a tough job. But Major League Baseball, hey, they're rolling on.
Yeah, and like you said, Bud Black fired, but he did go out a winner. I mean, the Rockies won 9-3 yesterday against the Padres at home. So, I mean, goes out a winner to say the least. But the Rockies are currently on track right now on with May 12th. They currently are on track right now to have a worse record than that White Sox team last year. That I believe was 121 losses last year for the White Sox. I think that's right. They're currently on track to have a worse year than that. Now, maybe this, firing Bud Black will, kind of spark something. Maybe they'll go on a little bit run here. I don't think they're going to lose more games than that historically bad White Sox team. It's too early to tell that, but I mean, they're on pace. It'll be interesting.
Well, it goes back to our comments earlier. Baseball is baseball. The Rockies, I mean, these are Major League Baseball players. I mean, they could end up winning 4 out of 6, or win 5 out of 8 going forward and get away from that worst record thing. Hey, speaking of, go ahead.
I was just saying, a game of baseball, so beautiful, right? It's saying the same thing about Missouri, and they go and sweep A&M. So, I mean, that's college ball, but it's baseball nonetheless. So.
Hey, beautiful baseball, Baton Rouge, Rougarou, June 3rd, season opener at Pete Goolsbee Field. Go to brrougarou.com, get your season tickets. It's the best deal in town. They got tons of merchandise, hats, shirts, BP tops. You got to get one of those, Hunter. brrougarou.com. It's right around the corner. Get those season tickets, get that merchandise. And, of course, I'm here at Court Street Cafe in Port Allen, just a couple of minutes over the Mississippi River Bridge. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, 6 days a week, Monday through Saturday. Stop by. Lunch specials, dinner specials, dinner of the week specials. It's all at Court Street Cafe in Port Allen. Hit them up on Facebook and Instagram. They do a great job of putting everything out. Jason and the staff do a wonderful job. Court Street Cafe. Hunter, I want to appreciate you pinch hitting for Ronnie Rance this morning. I didn't know about that till this morning. He texted me late last night, and I woke up to see that you were pinch hitting for him.
Yep,
but that's all
good.
Me too. Hey, it's great for you. So tell people how they can keep up with you at WBRZ, your best bets. Tell people the best way to follow Hunter McCann.
Yeah, you can follow me on my X at McCann_Hunter. Post picks there, post commentary and opinions on everything under the sun, including LSU, Saints, Pelicans, everything. So that's McCann_Hunter on X. And then, like you said, you can go to WBRZ.com, go under the sports tab, best bets, get all my best bets every single weekend, Friday through Sunday. I'll post picks. Like you said, TK, it was a great weekend for us. Those 3 picks gave out on Sports Shorts Radio on Saturday. All 3 hit. Told everybody that 75% of the money, 80% of the handle, all back in the Timberwolves in that game against the Warriors in Golden State. And it was -5.5 for the Timberwolves. They were up 8 points, TK, with like 15 seconds left. Golden State misses a 3, gets the rebound, hits like a fadeaway, almost a corner 3 to make it a 5-point game. Timberwolves dribble it out. I win +5.5 on the side of the Warriors. Told you it was a little bit too fishy. But, you can get all my best bets over at WBRZ.com.
All right, appreciate that, Hunter. Hey, everybody out there watching, like and share this show, YouTube, Facebook, X, wherever you're watching, share it. If you watch it at lunchtime, you watch it later in the day, you watch part of it, like and share this show. That helps. Hunter, appreciate it. We'll talk to you again soon.
Absolutely, sir. I'll see you soon, TK.